My competitiveness is just a drive within me. This competitiveness is just instilled in my brain. It's not just even in sport environments, it's just in any environment. I just want to be good at everything that I do.
Bronze! Wow, what a goal!
If I'm going to do something, I want to do it properly. And I want to do it right, and I want to be the best.
I think people sometimes didn't realise how good you were because you were the full height, you wore adult-sized shoes. And then if I then said, oh, she's 12, it's like, all right, she's not just good, she's like amazing.
What awards were them ones?
What did you win for?
One of them was top goal scorer.
Top goal scorer, yeah. I suspect that's manager's player of the year.
I think football's brought me everything in my life. In everything that I do, I'm always thinking about, is this good for my career? Is this good for football? I love watching football. I love watching men's football, women's football. My dream house would be to have a big football pitch in the back garden with the big nets and stuff so I could just go out every single day.
What's this? Where's your mum? Where's Luce? Go get Luce. Woo! When they did a toddler checks at the doctor's, and the doctor, she was like 2-year-old, the doctor said, can you count to 10? She said, in what language?
My dad's Portuguese, so I've been brought up around languages.
Her dad only spoke Portuguese to her at that point, but that gradually faded because they always answered him in English, so he got sick of it.
The only time I've used Portuguese was when Roberto Carlos was sat behind us, and he had a seat next to him spare, and we were all sat in a row with all the girls, and Ada had the Ballon d'Or like this, and she was like, and I was like, you can't put it on the floor, so he tapped and said, we'll put it here. And then I turned around and said in Portuguese, oh, be careful with that. And then he started speaking back to me, and I just was like,
no, too much.
I can't speak Portuguese.
Can I just point out, that's your hair still growing out from when you got him to cut all your hair off, when he cut it all. Because it was getting in your way to play football, so you didn't want long hair.
We used to go for bike rides all the time and go to the beach and play football on the beach with my brother and my sister. I did ride a bike at age 2 without stabilizers, but only because my brother could do it, so that's what I wanted to do. I was very much like that. I'm still like that now, to be honest, and I'm like 30 years old, but if there's something that somebody else can do and I can't do it, I go and try until I can do it.
So you're already doing it where if you're playing cards, you turn it that way, so you've got a better chance of winning. It is a family trait. Gas!
What did you say, gas?
No, it's just I knew I wasn't going to be fast enough.
I think as well, as much as we were so competitive, like my mum and dad actually weren't into football.
I didn't have a football team. I didn't support a football team. It just wasn't really on my radar. I grew up as a badminton player, racket sports, that was my thing. You could have been Raducanu. You could have done that.
I think I'm a bit older than her, though.
I know, but if you'd stuck with it. and worn the white frilly socks that I wanted you to wear. This is the child that went to Northumberland Open and all the girls were wearing little white frilly socks. And what did Lucy turn up in? A football kit.
But I beat them all.
You did beat them all, but you didn't want to wear a tennis kit.
I've always been shy. I really struggled at school with that, struggled in new teams and new environments. I just never felt comfortable. I couldn't imagine myself playing in a sport that isn't a team because I just enjoy having that support around me. I think when you're not confident, you know, you've got a team around you who can make you feel that way, or you've got other people around you that you can lean on a little bit, or you can help push them, and I've just always enjoyed that. Growing up, I had no desire to play for England, to play in a World Cup. I'll be honest, I didn't know it existed. I just played football because I absolutely loved it, and I was so competitive that I just wanted to win when I was playing, and it was that simple. When I obviously turned 12 and realised that there was men's football and women's football, again, I was like, is there even a World Cup or a Euros? I still didn't know.
You've both taken so long and I've already took 2.
But the first time I remember you making a point about a female footballer, we were playing some mini tournament and you had me on trying to get a Rachel Yankee shirt.
And you didn't get me one.
I couldn't find, well,
I think,
you couldn't get them. Nowadays, you wouldn't think anything of it. You would just buy one.
Get off the pitch.
When she was 11, she played for a boys' team, and at the end of the season, the manager came to see me and said, you need to do something because Lucy's pretty much the best player I've ever seen. She needs to carry on playing, but I'm not allowed to have her play for my team next year. And I was just, what? Is it because she's a girl? And the rules say that as a girl, she's not allowed to play for a boys' team next year. And I had no idea. So I thought, all right, well, what can I do? Find out some addresses, write to people. And I got a letter back saying, we can't allow a girl to carry on playing in case a girl gets hurt. That's what it actually said. And I'm thinking, well, this is a bit mad, because at 11, you were bigger than most of the boys.
My mum and my auntie would sit at the table and they would be so mad, and I'd always be sat thinking, oh, why are they so angry? Like, I can still play football. But I think as I've got older, I've realised what that was about.
I'd rung the FA because we wanted you to carry on playing with the boys at the end of the street. And the FA said, it's all right, just go to Sunderland. I said, but she's car sick and it's an hour and a half's drive. And you were 11 and you'd been to school.
Dad used to pick me up. I'd get in the car, eat, train, he'd be sat reading the newspaper, drive home, and it was pretty much go to bed. You went on the internet and Googled, like, women's football.
Yeah.
That's why North Carolina came up.
I mean, look, you were so excited. I don't think you could quite believe that there was all these people playing football.
I think people had mentioned America was the best place for women's football.
We were one of the pioneer schools, attracting obviously all the great U.S. players. And then, of course, we happened to attract this wonderful English kid from Sunderland or somewhere. Her mother was very interested in, having her kid have a good experience at a soccer camp. And she kept repeating this, year after year after year. And then we made her a scholarship offer.
I was always told that I was too competitive, I was too driven, I was too aggressive. It was always too much, instead of just, oh, this is amazing, you're so competitive. But I went to America and they were like, you think you're competitive?
Try Megan Klingenberg.
They were like, I'll show you, which it made me feel more at ease that everybody was similar to me.
17-year-old comes in, and all of a sudden she's playing against these older women, and she's fighting for her life. She's trying to get on the field. If you want to develop into an elite player, you have to embrace competition. So Lucy checks every single box.
Having that experience at a young age in America is probably the most important thing in my career. To go toe-to-toe with Tobin Heath at the time, or Ashlyn Harris, or whoever else it was on the team, I just thrived off of that.
What I liked about her is her ability to run with the ball with confidence, aggressively, try to take people on. She did improve remarkably over the course of the 4 months. She wanted to make a difference in her game, and she did.
When I just turned 18, I'd come back to England. I was playing for Sunderland, then I went to an England camp. I basically banged my knee. And bursa, my knee was really swollen, it wouldn't go down. I ended up getting an injection that actually infected my knee. So I got rushed to hospital, had my knee cut open. England called me up and said, "You've just had this major knee operation, infection, you should have looked after yourself better." And just said, "You know, we won't be picking you for the summer because you won't be able to get fit now." Me being me, I was determined to prove them wrong. Trained hard, not knowing that I needed to see a physio. So basically, my other knee started to hurt. No one diagnosed it at the time, kept playing. Finally, they sent me to a doctor, and straight away he just said, "You've been playing for torn meniscus." So I had surgery on that.
Oh, you got this.
The surgery that I had basically took away over 70% of my meniscus. So I've just been playing the past 10 years in pain. I've had to have 2 surgeries since just to clear it up. My leg's gone purple. When you have a knee surgery, I actually don't care that I can't walk. I care that I can't kick a football.
Okay, give me what you can. 2, 1, off we go.
It's lonely, it's tough. You're on your own. How do you push through those days where you can't sometimes see the finish line? There is not a day when today is the day you can go out running. To have the mental strength to get out of bed and push through pain and knowing you have to put in the extra work because you need to be stronger than you were before, it takes a strong character.
The life of a footballer is great, but when you're injured, you've got to have that work rate. Keeping that drive and that motivation because you're focused on getting your body right. I went to university and I studied everything to do with knee injuries so that I could always be in the best position to help myself.
Yeah, you got 5.5 minutes in the red.
And then by about 5 minutes, just constantly. I think that's kind of the history of women's football. The best players have been them people who don't rely on others to make them better. They know that it comes from within. The England shirt meant a lot to me because I waited so long to get picked. Get picked for my first England camp, and there's all these great players like Rachel Yankee and Alex Scott and Kelly Smith and Farrell Williams. Yeah, it was like the players that I'd kind of watched in years before, growing up and thinking like these are amazing.
Straight away I called her Lucia. There was just this connection and a total respect for one another, but ultimately that cheeky, I'm gonna take your place, and me throwing it straight back, no you're not. Or when you do, I know you're ready to.
We used to compete, but it's probably the healthiest competition that I've ever heard of. I remember one of the first conversations I had with Alex, and it was like, "I'm so glad that you're here." I was thinking, why? I'm here to take your spot. And she was like, because I'm happy that the next person playing right back after me is going to be good.
I liked her personality, how infectious her mentality was. It still allowed me to have that mindset and be the best and push me on. She had to be fitter than what I was, but technically she had to be good. When you put on a national team shirt, you have to deliver every single time.
I want to be the best defender on the pitch and I want to be the best attacker on the pitch. Managers always say, you know, you pay the strikers the most money because they get you the goals and goals win the game. I've always just loved defending. I don't know why. It's not even like the pretty side of football, but I think if you've just got a love for it, you do. And I do remember in my career the times where I've stopped the ball off the line, cleared it off the line. I think I get more joy from stopping a goal than scoring it. I just think when you score a goal, everybody else celebrates, so you kind of feel that. The England manager at the time sat me down and said, look, listen, you were the starting centre-half. You were fighting for a spot at right-back with Alex, but obviously you've been injured. So now you're going to be the cover for right-back, the cover for left-back, the cover for right-side centre-half, the cover for left-side centre-half. You could potentially play midfield if we needed you to, and you could potentially play on the wing if we needed someone to defend. I had no idea what impact being in Canada at the World Cup was going to have on my career. You know, I went into this tournament as a squad player. I came out the end of it as a household name.
Bronze! Wow, what a goal! That's absolutely superb! But it came to Lucy Bronze, and she absolutely smacked it into the roof of the net.
We started getting stopped by people. Before that, it was, I'm going to a women's football match, and people go, oh, women play football, really? And people were stopping me, going, is your Lucy playing tonight?
Free kick in deep towards the head of Bronze, off the bar, and it's crossed the line.
Canada was a huge tournament, just set off women's football immensely.
Lucy Bronze makes it 2-0.
We'd never won a knockout game in the World Cup, so it was all new. We were just happy to keep getting to the next game and just riding on this wave of success.
Here comes Farrah Williams for England, sends the goalkeeper the wrong way. The full-time whistle goes. England have beaten the Germans.
I'd never in a million years think that we were going to go there and win a medal for the first time ever, and we ended up doing that. And in Canada, the time difference was so different that I didn't really understand what was going on back home. And then I came back to England, and everything was completely different for me. I had that presence in women's football where people knew who I was and what was expected from me. The biggest part of developing my career has been playing with the best players in the world. Part of the reason I went to Lyon and signed for the best team in the world is to push myself to be better.
Le centre de la droite et la reprise de Lucy Bronze, le but de l'Anglaise, but pour l'Olympique Lyonnais.
You're living away from home, you're out of a comfort zone. How are you going to handle that when all different things are thrown at you? Proving, once again, that you have to be the best even though you know you are. You know, as a player, you can either sit in a comfort zone or actually it's that mindset, no, I need to challenge myself to go up another gear. And that's what Lucy did going to France.
I was based in France, all prepared to play this World Cup in France where I knew the language and the stadiums, prepared myself better than anybody else for this France World Cup. I was definitely prepared for the tournament and for what we had to achieve and what people were expecting from the England team as more of a favourites. I'd already played for a team that was always expected to win anyway.
I think Lucy, over the course of those years, developed her voice more, developed into more of a leader. You had an impact in 2015. Everyone then knew your name because you scored that amazing goal against Norway. Or actually here, you are the superstar. Everyone knows. It's a different pressure.
I would happily just sit in my room all day on England camps, which I am known for doing that more than everybody else. But equally, I just know that I have a bigger part to play. The England manager was the person that brought it out of me. He was like, you know, I want you to be a leader in this team. I want you to be a captain in this team. The girls need you to be that person. They want you to be that person. I was just a bit like, well, I kind of know that, but I don't really know how to be that.
Bronze! There it is, 3-0.
That was quite a challenge to try and be more open and be more extrovert, but without losing the person that I am.
Lucy can affect a game, whether that's on the ball, whether that's her running off the ball for her teammates, or her mentality that if things are not going well for the team, that she's going to change that.
In my head, I was thinking, yeah, like we're getting somewhere. We'd been so close in the previous World Cup. And then in 2019, it was like, oh, we're finally against the US. As a squad, we finally got to that place where being in the World Cup semi-final was comfortable for us. We weren't there to get a bronze medal, we were there because we wanted to get to the final.
Nice timing. Kelly O'Hara will reach this. It's in!
You only ever remember the person that lifts the trophy at the end of the day.
Ellen White. It's so deft, so precise, and quite beautifully done by Ellen White. Lovely ball, Morgan!
There was just so much drama in that game.
Ellen White's in for England, and Ellen White scores! VAR says offside, it's no goal.
Went down to the wire in the end.
Ellen White! It's a penalty. It's a time for the captain. It's a time for Steph Houghton. Save!
2019 World Cup was a kick in the teeth to the English team. We really felt we'd put everything in place and we were ready to go. And then when I got to that final game, that was where it seemed to just not click. I think I maybe stretched myself a bit too thin in 2019. I just wanted to make sure that I was there for everyone. Sometimes you just need to focus on yourself. I think that's something that I've learned a lot about leaders and captains in general, is actually different teams need different things. And I've really worked out now what England need from their leaders. I do think it's important to embrace the people around you and at least to make the effort, to show people that you're making an effort. I think it makes a huge difference.
I see her as the next captain of England. You need to use your voice, use it in such a positive way to help drive in our women's game and grow it and pass it on.
It's never been about what I can win, what I can score. It's what my team can do.
3 times UEFA Champions League winner Lucy Bronze has returned to Manchester City for the 2020-21 season. Lucy is looking to add to her past league successes in the FA WSL.
People will look to watch an England team to see Lucy Bronze play. I remember seeing a young boy playing in the park with a number 2 and a bronze on the back. That's that effect. For that younger generation coming through, knowing that Lucy says that she wants to be the best, it's okay for me to say that I want to be the best. I'm going to play for England. I'm going to do this, because that's the attitude you're passing on.
I still sort of do a double take. As every so often, it's like, was that Lucy on that advert on the telly? It's like, oh my goodness.
The winner of the Best FIFA Women's Player 2020, Lucy Bronze.
For a right back to be considered the greatest player in the world, to ascend to that level and to get that kind of recognition, I think she's done something that's been unique.
I don't know whether it ever will sink in. We just roll with it and just go, oh, that really is my daughter.
Lucy's absolutely an icon. From her journey, through her struggles, through injury, it's character and drive that I will overcome those obstacles. They're there, but they're not there to stop me.
I'm just so proud. She's never given up. She's still the really nice kid that I remember. She's not too good for the rest of us now that she's ascended to this level.
Seeing her doing interviews and being able to talk fluently in public, you might not have expected that And she goes to awards in dresses, so I wasn't expecting that either.
I think football's given me like a confidence. Yeah, I could never learn the same things that I did in my football career and the places that I've been and the things that I've done. I wouldn't have learned as much about myself. My ultimate goal with England always has been to win a trophy. I want to win a trophy to feel like I've really accomplished something with England. I'm going to do everything that I can and push myself and the people around me to really lift English football and women's football in England to another level. We know the influence that men's football has on the country, and we want to be part of that and really have that experience that can change the nation.
Yeah, the practice gets worth it when the practice makes perfect. To make perfect, you gotta earn it, you gotta sacrifice and be assertive. To be the greatest, stay humble, stay focused, don't stumble. And you best be ready to rumble, come with a lion's heart in the jungle. Know when I'm doing it right, I know when I'm doing it wrong. I know when I'm doing it better than anyone else on the scene when they're calling me Don. I know how to do this thing on a rap, know how to do this thing on a song. Know how to put in the work and win in the race, and here is where I belong.